Hello, family. This is Marcus, aka Brother Sharif, and I want to welcome you to the inaugural episode of the Family Meeting. Every now and then, things get out of control or they get out of order, and we have to have a timeout and call a meeting in order to get things back together and to right the ship. Now is one of those times. In November, we have a presidential election. Many people are discouraged because they believe they only have two choices, either the Democratic candidate, Joe Biden, or the incumbent, Donald Trump. But there are many other candidates. In addition to Biden and Trump, we have a Libertarian candidate, we have a Green Party candidate, and we also have an independent candidate in Mrs. Jade Simmons, who I had the privilege of having a discussion with today. In this discussion, which I'm about to share with you, Mrs. Simmons lays out her platform and her vision. This is not an endorsement. This is just an opportunity for you to get to know your choices. Take notes and let me know if you have any other questions.
Here we
Thank
go.
you. Good evening, Ms. Simmons. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Marcus? Thank you so much for having me.
I'm great. I want to thank you so much for taking out this time
Oh no.
to speak with me.
Yeah, the pleasure is all mine.
There's a group of people that are really interested in hearing more about you and being able to consume your platform in a way where, or digest it in a way where they could juxtapose it with the traditional candidates.
That's right.
And so I really wanted to make sure that we gave them that opportunity. I enjoyed your interview with the Breakfast Club,
Oh, thank you.
but I felt like they got a little distracted, and so they didn't pull any of the policy stuff out of there.
No,
Um,
we didn't even have enough time. I told them I'd love to come back and go deeper. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able
yes,
to kind
ma'am.
of dig deep into the issues here. That's going to be crucial.
And I know I said I was only going to take up about 15 minutes of your time, but
Oh,
I'm
that's
on
it.
I'm on your time though. So if you
Okay.
have more time available,
Let's see.
I can take my time and we can really get into some of this stuff because I've been reading, looking at your background,
Yeah.
and listening to your music.
Oh, wow. Wonderful.
I'm
Yeah.
a classical fan and a jazz fan. Um,
Wow.
love Diana Krall and a bunch of other pianists.
Yeah. Okay.
So I
Okay.
really enjoyed Flight. I just wanted to let you
Oh,
know that.
yes, that's the good stuff right there. Listen, I'm checking my schedule and I have time. So
All
let's
right.
take, you got to do at least 30 minutes, but
Okay, we can
uh,
go for it. I could take my
yeah,
time. I got my list of questions here.
yeah.
Um, well, first of all, you're vying to be the 46th president. And
Mm.
that's huge. We haven't had that many, but unfortunately, all of them have basically looked the same. They've come from the same background. All but five of our presidents have had political backgrounds, either serving in some capacity at some
Mhm.
level in government or they serve someone's administration on
That's
some
right.
level. So
That's right.
we've only had five that haven't followed that path. And the five that haven't followed that path, um, they haven't all been poor leaders.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to remain objective here and not
Okay.
subjective.
Okay.
They haven't all been the greatest leaders, but some of them have had some qualities that they picked up in the military and in business and elsewhere. As far as you're concerned, if you would please give us your background or what you feel is important in your background that would give you the transferable skill set that would help you lead on this level.
Thank you for the opportunity, Marcus. You said it right. What's the transferable skill set?
Yes, ma'am.
And we live in a crucial era right now. It's uncommon and it's unexpected. What you must have is crucial leadership that's uncommon and unexpected. That's what's going to navigate us through this season. We need a paradigm shift in so many areas. We like to throw around that word change and reform. That's not big enough for what we need coming out of the moment that COVID-19 has brought us and the unrest precipitated by the death of George Floyd. So, what I'm excited about is leaning into a very particular void that I believe is going to require three things in particular. We must have leadership now that determines to prioritize people over everything else. personal agenda, politics, and profit. You're going to have to prioritize people first. You can no longer have leaders who cater to people or pander to people based on their reelection hopes or their election hopes. So now you have to look for leadership that has a certain kind of track record. If you look at the president's track record, he is leading true to form. He's running the nation how he has run his businesses. He is a businessman, but he did business in a very particular way. It always favored major corporations because he was one. And it always left the small people out in the cold. If you look at the people he left unpaid, if you look at bankruptcy as a mode of operation for him in business, it wasn't an accident. Wasn't the thing, most Americans who file bankruptcy, it's the worst day in their life. They never thought they'd be there. Our president used bankruptcy as a tool to get out of paying his debts. And you'll see that same kind of behavior, a moral bankruptcy, a spiritual bankruptcy, economic bankruptcy. When we hear talk about the economy being the best it's ever been pre-COVID, it wasn't ever true. So you now need a leader who's going to tell it to you straight. We don't need a cheerleader, but we do need a champion. So when you look at what I've done, I've championed a few things that are really going to be critical now. I've championed transformation. I've championed purpose. And our country needs to reconnect to its original purpose. We're great with rhetoric, Marcus. One nation under God, indivisible. Liberty, justice for all. Sounds great. Make America great. Sounds great. What we actually have to do now is become the things we've been saying we've always been. We don't have to become anything new. Let's just become what we said we were in the first place. That would be a great start. I bring to the table extraordinary leadership where communication is concerned. I'm one of the most sought after keynote speakers in the nation. I'm an international speaker, and what I'm brought in to speak on is transformation, reinvention, and helping major corporations navigate periods of extreme change. If I don't know what else is required right now, we need to be navigated through extreme change right now. You're also going to need, as head of state and as commander-in-chief, someone who makes sound decisions based on wise counsel, as well as based on the long-term benefits for the American people and for people abroad. If you look at how our current president is making international and foreign policy decisions, he's driven very easily emotionally. He's a knee-jerk kind of president. If you look at how we acted with Iran, how we pulled out from the WHO, we're leaving positions of power. We have to be at the table in this season. We can't be taken advantage of, but we've got to have our voices at the table. We must be represented. So I'm excited now to be offering people leadership that not only prioritizes people, but considers our long-term purpose and goals. It is not, driven by her emotions, is not making erratic decisions, but now is leading with a steady foot forward that looks to repair our international image because it's going to need repair. And also communicate us powerfully through these tricky times where Iran, China, and Russia and Saudi Arabia are concerned.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you for that. You've touched on a lot of things that are going to be issues that the next president is going to have to deal with. What do you feel is the greatest opportunity or the most urgent issue that will need to be addressed in the next administration?
You said it right, greatest opportunity. I know we're in some dark times, but I happen to believe that the darkest it is, the brightest we get to shine as a nation. Listen, we've been exposed pretty badly here.
Yes.
Our division has cost us. We divided politically during a pandemic. We couldn't decide on basic things, whether or not to wear a mask, whether or not to believe there was a virus in the first place. And our enemies, you better believe, were taking copious notes as they watched us. They saw we were very easy to divide using politics, and that our politicians were the source of that division. And so when you talk about opportunity now, the opportunity must be an opportunity for unity along what I called uncommon common ground. So one of the things that has set us apart, if you're curious and knowing more about policy, you're going to go to operationrestoration2020.com. And what people are excited about is that we are daring to talk about the whole issue. So I really refrain from using any of the divisive rhetoric we've seen before. Are you pro-life or pro-choice? Are you pro-economy or pro-safety where COVID was concerned? As soon as you talk in that way, you disable a discussion that's going to lead to common ground. People retreat to their corners, put their boxing gloves on, and come out swinging. I tell my friends who consider themselves pro-life, I believe powerfully in the sanctity of life, passionately about the power of the human resource that is life. But you cannot call yourself pro-life if you only care about the babies in the wombs and you stop caring about the mothers who had snatched away during COVID, and you don't care about the people dying under the knees of corrupt police officers. That's not being pro-life. If you're pro-life, you must be equally outraged whenever life is taken unnecessarily or unjustly, right? If we care about the economy, we have to care about building a pathway out of poverty for those who don't have bootstraps to pull themselves up by.
Yeah.
We also have to hold corporations accountable. But we don't have to demonize corporations because corporations are people. But we must say to corporations now, we want mutually beneficial transactions here. We bailed you out. We need you to build an American company. We need to be a corporation back home, build a manufacturing center back home instead of taking all of our good American jobs abroad, right?
Yes.
So we have to have mutually beneficial transactions where if we're helping people, we're also getting something in return. You want debt-free education? Well, be strategic about it. We saw we needed more healthcare workers. Make that be the first thing that we make debt-free so that the society benefits, right? We just reopened and sent all of our health workers who were already overworked, exhausted, overburdened, spent all their money helping to take care of their own patients, right? And we sent them back to work again as we reopened. We need more healthcare workers. So if you're going to prioritize anything, you prioritize them when it comes to debt-free education. We have to be strategic now instead of political. And that's the season that we're excited to usher in.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that answer. And you hinted at this, but traditionally, when we start talking about politicians running for office, we talk about all of these categories: criminal justice, economy, social security, education, energy, environment, foreign policy, gun regulation, healthcare, immigration, labor and trade, all of that good stuff. You've touched on a lot of this. In the way that you have your platform divided up departs from that, which is not a bad thing. I like it because it gives people the opportunity to um, understand it in a different way instead of having their understanding of your platform be manipulated by these categories
There you
that
go.
have been used for generations.